Hey everybody, welcome back to another installment. It's been a while of Andy's Music Vault. I am the other leg, Andy Nichols from Two Legs, and it's been a few months since I've done a video, but those of you that follow Two Legs know that we're not sitting around doing nothing. We've had a lot of activity on our channel lately, and we've interviewed Alan Cozen and Adrian Sinclair. And you can see above my shoulder, the McCartney Legacy. I received it today kindly from them, which was so nice physically. Can't wait to meet those guys in person at the launch in Newark in 2 weeks' time. But for this installment, and this is going to be a quick one today, I just wanted to do some reflection on the concert for George Harrison, the 20th anniversary screening of the film, which I was privileged to see last night here in New Jersey. With a couple of friends, I went to go see it. And it was the first time, actually, I had seen the theatrical cut, probably since it came out. I might have watched it once, the theatrical cut when it was released in 2003, initially on DVD. And then from then on, I always just watched the proper concert or listened to the proper concert. So the CD, as we know, came out in '03, and the original DVD. Partly inspired to record this today due to Mazzy. Those of you know Norman Masloff of Hoffman and music fame. Really nice guy. We had him on Two Legs once, and he had a really cool story about going to the concert for George and attending it. So check that video out on his channel. And it was really, I thoroughly enjoyed watching that and listening to his story about how he got the tickets and spent a week in London and actually was there at the Royal Albert Hall. But just reflecting on the concert itself, 20 years on, it still remains one of the most moving, emotional concerts I've ever seen. And I've been to I've been to hundreds of concerts. Those of you know that my taste, that what I'm into. And the concert for George ranks all time as probably one of the best ever. And you know that I'm a McCartney fan. And maybe it's because I'm getting older, but I find myself kind of channeling a little more George's philosophy these days as I get older. The last words he spoke were "love one another." That's pretty special. And again, maybe sentimental because I'm getting older, but to watch the film again and really appreciate it as an older fan now, I enjoyed it. I mean, even like the Indian music, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But watching Ravi Shankar and his daughter perform Arpan at the beginning of the concert with Eric Clapton playing along with it, incredible. Now I realize the theatrical version is all out of sequence of the normal sequence of the concert, which were those of you that know the concert in and out. It was a little bit, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. They're doing, Ringo's coming out and then early and then but that's how they shot it that way. And the behind the scenes footage was really nice too, to see Eric and Danny Harrison and others, Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne and Joe Brown, talk about rehearsing for the concert and getting together for it. And that was really enjoyable to see that, because you don't watch these things every single day. I listened to the concert for George quite a bit, a few times a year, usually around the anniversary of his passing and other whenever I happen to be in a George mode. So, but to actually watch it and straight through was really awesome, and to see the other aspects of George's life coming in together under one night. Everybody has different things that they kind of are drawn into. The concert for George shows George's spiritual side with the Indian music and Ravi and all the talent, the wonderful Indian musicians. And there was loads of them up there at the Royal Albert Hall. When you watch the upper deck, tons of them. And then, of course, the Monty Python stuff, the Lumberjack song and Sit on My Face. And Tom Hanks, even getting a part of it. So it really, and then of course the music, it really encapsulates everything who George was. Now, were there a few people missing from the concert? Notably one, Bob Dylan. Yeah, Bob Dylan probably should have been there, and I know he was on tour. But of all the people that were at that concert assembled, he was the one that needed to be there. But Gary Brooker, who I have become more of a fan in the last couple of years with his work with Procol Harum, but just to see him up there, he was part of like the house band. You had Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers in their band, but the main house band, Ray Cooper, Clapton and Albert Lee and Andy Fairweather Lowe, loads of other guys as part of the house band, Gary Brooker. doing Old Brown Shoe, and Eric really just kind of the musical director of the whole evening. And you can really tell that. And you can watch, when you watch Paul's segment come out, it's a George crowd. It's a George night. So Paul probably felt a little like, well, this is not my safe zone. But he, in true professionalism fashion, came out and, wowed the crowd. And we were even in the theater last night, we were clapping, even though it was a film. It was because it was that good. And if you're a casual fan, I can't imagine anybody watching this hasn't seen it, but there might be one or two. And if you haven't, watch the concert for George, either the theatrical version or just the concert itself, to see a man so loved and celebrated. Billy Preston, and also I thought about it last night when I was in the theater, how sad it was now to think about the people that are in that concert that are no longer with us, like Billy Preston and Ravi Shankar and Gary Brooker. I might be leaving one or two other people out. I apologize if I have. It's 20 years ago. I remember it like yesterday. I remember when the day that George died, and then a year later this concert was put together, and the home release was in 2003. And I remember reading about it on the internet at the time, and I remember I did pick up an early bootleg a few months after, had to, because it was what you read about. But George's camp, did it right and got it released after the fact. Wonderfully produced. And then a couple of years ago, I think it was 2018, we finally got the 4 LP box, 7 sides, with the 8th side being etching. So I've got a couple of photographs I'll show you now, but lavishly put together. Concord Music, 2018 it came out, and it's still pretty affordable now on 4 vinyl discs, and listen to it today actually again. So I just thinking about just the time 20 years ago, how fast time has flown. It's remarkable. I remember watching VH1. Remember when they actually showed music videos on VH1? And when George passed away, they actually got all of his old promotional films out and started playing them. And I immediately got my VHS tape out. I'm dating myself here, folks. Got my VHS tape out. 20 years ago, I was 21. And just recorded it. And I remember those were really the first time I really remember seeing a lot of promo films for like This Is Love. But the one that really sticks to me, still is the one for Crackerbox Palace. That was directed by Herc Idle. And I recorded it in the last couple of days just thinking about George and his solo music. And, it's something that I definitely appreciate more and more as I get older. Much like I did with Bob Dylan a couple of years back. It must just be a maturity thing. But, I can't say enough about the concert. One that I wouldn't watch it all the time because to me, it's like it has that spiritual quality of like going to church. It really does. That's when you watch the whole concert and the love that everybody has for George. It's evident. Go watch during For You Blue. Now they rehearse, but when they're performing For You Blue, and it goes, this is 12 Bar Blues, you watch Paul and Ringo go back to each other, and they're like right on point. It's as close. You've got Eric Clapton, who performed on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, playing it. Paul on the piano, playing it. Billy Preston on organ, on the Hammond organ, throughout the whole thing. This is as close to a Beatle event as there ever could have been in the early 2000s, with all the principal players who were alive at the time to be there. Obviously, and it just from start to finish, Horse to Water was a track that I always thought was kind of a little bit out of place. It's not on the proper CD release. They omitted it from that, but on the vinyl, it got thrown on there properly sequenced. So, Jules Holland did that song. I forget the lady who sang it with him, but that's a good song, and it's the last song George wrote. I know that for a lot of people, especially in this country, in America, it was their first real true exposure to Joe Brown. And I'm going to be honest, mine too, 20 years ago when I discovered it. I'd read about Joe Brown, but I didn't know him. And here's this guy with this kind of blonde hair all over the place, spiky hair, like looking out of place. But here's the ukulele, and he does his band does a great version of Here Comes the Sun. And a really lesser-known George song called That's the Way It Goes from Gon Troppo from 1982. And I know that that brought that song to the forefront for a lot of people who didn't know that song because they probably didn't really know the Gon Troppo album. I have friends of mine that were like, wow, that's a really good song. And they learned it from the Concert for George. And then, of course, he closes the concert like in tear-jerking fashion with I'll See You in My Dreams and the confetti falling and everybody hugging right after the concert and wah-wah. And it's like everybody's going home. And you think you're going to end it with Paul. No, you bring Joe Brown out with the ukulele and he sings I'll See You in My Dreams. End of concert. Phenomenal. I get goosebumps thinking about it now. So, just an incredible experience. Mazzy, I'm so jealous of you that you got to experience that in person way back when, but good on you for doing that. And just a couple of technical points. I know it's going to get a re-release. I have the original DVD from 2003, and then I got the Blu-ray again in 2018 when the vinyl came out. Honestly, folks, I don't see a real big difference in both. The original Blu-ray is fine, and I think Mazzy said the same thing. It plays well, and the Blu-ray is fine too. Now, this is going to get a more of a 5.1, a Dolby Atmos mix. It's going to be just more about the audio. But, if you have a halfway decent system, and, the concert play is fine. Even in the theater last night, it could have been a little bit louder because it wasn't like a true, it was just an old theater, but it sounded great. And if you have even the original DVD or the Blu-ray, the first Blu-ray, I might add, I think you're set. You can't. I mean, we say this about the Beatles records. How much better could they be produced? 50 odd years later, it's the same thing with the Concert for George. It's still, whatever version you have is phenomenal. If you don't have one aspect of this concert that you need that's still affordable, is get the 4 LP box. If you're a vinyl connoisseur, pick this one up because this is definitely worth it. Awesome. The booklet, it mirrors the CD release in terms of what's in the content, the book, and the pictures and stuff like that. But of course, the vinyl is high quality, 180 gram, 7 sides, the 8th side's etching, but beautifully put together. You can find that fairly reasonable still. So grab that if you don't have that yet. Still, 20 years ago, and the film opened up with a nice little kind of introduction with Olivia and Danny reflecting on the concert 20 years ago. To think how young Danny Harrison was then. He's a couple years older than me. He probably was about 25 then. Anyway, now he's in his mid-40s and looking back on that concert 20 years ago. So just a moment in time that will live on in everybody's memory who was a Beatles and George fan. And I hope it lives on in yours too. So nice, easy one today. 20 years on, much missed. And go see the Concert for George if you haven't, because any music person really needs to. So we'll check you out in the next episode of Two Legs. Be safe, everybody. Take care. Bye.